It's been a few weeks, and if you've been wondering where I've been, thank you. Truly. I've missed this space more than I can explain. This podcast is a part of me, and when I'm not able to show up for it, it feels like a piece of me goes quiet. That's not who I am, and it's been breaking my heart. I want to start by saying I'm sorry for the delay. Life threw some unexpected storms our way. Medical emergencies, scary moments, those kind of weeks where everything feels too much. And you already know what I'm going to say. When it rains, it pours. Not just in the poetic way people throw around lightly, but in the heavy, real, how am I supposed to keep doing this kind of way. In this episode, I want to talk about what it feels like when life piles on. Not one thing, not two, but all of it. The shower breaks, the kids get sick, you miss deadlines, your body gives out, your emotions feel louder than usual, and then you remember. You're still trying to function through bipolar disorder. Because when it rains, it pours. And for those of us living with bipolar, the storm often comes with thunder inside our own heads. There's the downpour outside and the one happening deep inside us too. Maybe you're hypomanic, buzzing with energy, trying to outrun the storm. Or maybe you're sinking into depression, already drenched and feeling like no one sees it. This episode is about those moments. The ones where your brain and your body and your circumstances all collide. The moments when people expect you to keep showing up, to work, to parent, to clean the house, to answer texts, while you're just trying to breathe. We'll talk about what it means to navigate that space. How to hold yourself with grace when it all comes crashing down. How to ask for help without guilt. How to recognize when the downpour is more than just life. And it might be your bipolar symptoms surfacing louder than usual. Take a moment with me now. Breathe in slowly and exhale like you're letting go of a weight you've been carrying far too long. You made it here. You're still standing. That counts. That matters. And if your life lately has felt like storm after storm, know that you're not the only one checking the skies every day hoping for sun. Let's talk about what it means to weather the rain. Let's talk about surviving the flood of too much. Let's talk about how even when it pours, we can find a little shelter together. Because you're not alone in the storm, and you never have to be. Let me take you there into what my own "it pours" looked like recently. Some of you may know I've had medical issues for years, but nothing quite prepared me for what happened the last few weeks. The kind of health scares that make everything else stop. The kind that sends you into fight or flight just from waking up. Appointments, ER visits, the kind of nights where you're not even sure what hurts more, your body or your mind. And still, I had to show up. I had to keep going. For my kids, for my husband, for life. But inside, I was breaking. Because here's the thing about bipolar. It doesn't politely wait for life to calm down before it kicks in. It crashes into the chaos like it wants to win. It amplifies every fear, every exhaustion, every emotion, until suddenly you're not sure if what you're feeling is situational or symptomatic or both. There were days I couldn't get off the couch. Not because I was lazy, but because my body had given out from adrenal overload. There were moments I spiraled so quickly into anxiety that it felt like I couldn't catch my breath. And there were nights I lay in bed thinking, I can't do this. Not again. Not one more wave. But I want to tell you this. You can do this. And you already are. You might be crawling. You might be clinging to whatever tiny shred of energy you have left. But you are doing it. And I see you. Let's talk about what we can do when it's all too much. When everything hits at once. Grounding yourself isn't just a therapy tool. It becomes survival. Here are things that helped me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique. Name 5 things you see. 4 you can touch. 3 you can hear. 2 you can smell. 1 you can taste. Even if you have to whisper them to yourself between your tears. Stop multitasking pain. You don't have to solve it all at once. Triage it. What needs your energy right now? And what can wait? Call your lifeline. Not the perfect person, just someone safe, say, hey, I'm not okay right now. And that's enough. Let the dishes wait. Let the texts wait. If you are fighting to stay mentally above the water, nothing else matters more. And if you're someone with bipolar like me, you've probably asked this question before. Is this a life thing or a bipolar thing? And the truth? It's probably both. The stress makes the disorder worse. The disorder makes the stress harder to manage. It's a loop. But awareness is power. Knowing that your brain might be adding thunder to an already rainy day, that helps you remember that not everything you think in those moments is truth. Here's something else I've learned. Sometimes survival is spiritual, not religious, but sacred. When I was at my lowest these last few weeks, I wasn't reciting affirmations or journaling beautiful reflections. I was whispering things like, just keep breathing. They need me. One more hour. And sometimes that is the spiritual work. Being here, still, even when it hurts. So if your house feels like it's falling apart, if your health feels like it's failing you, if your brain feels like it's betraying you, you're not failing. You're weathering. You're standing in the middle of a storm with your fists clenched and your heart cracked open. And you're still freaking here. That is strength. That is resilience. That is hope. And remember, hope doesn't always look like light beams and clear skies. Sometimes it looks like crawling into bed with the dishes undone and saying, I made it through today. Sometimes it looks like crying in the shower, but still getting out and brushing your hair. Sometimes it looks like pressing play on a podcast you weren't sure you had the energy to hear. You did that. You're here. And I am so proud of you. Let's pause together here. Not just to reflect, but to truly feel. Because sometimes, in the midst of the storm, what we need most is a moment to stop pretending we're fine. To admit that it's hard. To acknowledge that surviving takes strength we rarely give ourselves credit for. So if your version of when it rains, it pours includes quiet tears at the sink, or anxiety that wraps around your chest so tightly it's hard to breathe, or long nights where you stare at the ceiling just trying to silence your mind. You're not broken. You're human. You're overwhelmed and still moving forward. And that is resilience. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to fix everything by morning. You just have to take the next breath, the next step, the next small act of care for yourself. Let me say this. Sometimes survival looks like showing up in sweatpants with a shaky voice and a tired heart and saying, "I'm still here." That is holy work. That is the work that heals. And if you're listening to this right now, know that I am so proud of you. Truly. You chose to be here in this moment with me. And in doing so, you reminded your mind and your heart that they matter. If this podcast resonates with you, if it helps you feel a little more understood or less alone, please consider supporting it. I pour everything into these episodes, my time, my heart, and my truth. And your support truly keeps it going. You can make a one-time donation or become a monthly supporter on Ko-fi. Every dollar helps cover production costs, supports future episodes, and allows me to continue creating and showing up with honesty and heart. If this space has ever helped you feel seen, please consider being a part of what helps it grow. Here's the link: coffee.com/IamHope in the chaos. That is ko-fi.com/IamHope in the chaos. You're not just supporting a podcast. You're supporting a lifeline for me and for others who need to hear these words. I am not a licensed therapist, medical provider, or mental health professional. The experiences, stories, and insights shared in this podcast are based solely on my own personal journey and lived experiences. This content is intended only for educational, inspirational, and support purposes. It is not a substitute for professional medical or mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of a licensed mental health professional or healthcare provider regarding your mental health or medical conditions. If you are in crisis or experiencing a medical emergency, contact emergency services immediately by calling 911 or reach out to the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by calling 988. You are not alone. You never were, and you never have to be. And remember, there is hope in the chaos.